5 years ago during COVID, I made a pivot after I left working a corporate job as a sales manager and a sales trainer for a lot of years. And I went to start a window company. And then COVID happened and we couldn't go out and see people in their houses. And I thought, well, shit, the mortgage company would probably still like to get a check. What are we going to do? And we had just installed, like the end of 19, this siding. It was the first like composite siding and gutter job that I had sold. We had sold windows and the whole thing. And I had this Amish sub crew come down and do the gutters. And then COVID happened a few months later, and you couldn't just go out. And I thought, what are we going to sell? And all the time since we had started, you'd get the calls from Home Advisor and Angie each week, and window and roof leads that's a terrible place to be there. So I would tell them to F off, and they'd call me the following week. I'd tell them to F off. And in early March 2020, they called me, and I told them to F off. And I'm like, wait a minute, how much are entry door leads and gutter leads? And like $30 to $50. I was like, yeah, let's sell some gutters. Sign me up. In the first 60 days, we sold $130,000 worth of retail gutters. I didn't know anything about it. I had some Amish guys that were installing for me for $525 a foot, and I had no idea what we were doing. But what I did love is the business, the cash flow. You mean I don't have to order something and wait 8 weeks for it to come in and sit on somebody's money with the highest expectations that we're never going to achieve? We installed gutters, and we just put gutters on. People were stoked that they were just new and shiny. Like what you had to hit for people's expectations, there was nothing bad about the gutter industry. So after that first 60, 90 days, I was like, oh shit, I think we should be a gutter company. And so I ordered a trailer, I ordered a truck, but if anybody tried to get machines in 2020, you couldn't. We didn't get our KWM 5.6 combo until Labor Day weekend, at which time I had a friend of the family that wanted a job and started to train him from what I learned on YouTube. And we started to sell gutters, but something magical happened. And what was magical for me is a lot of my path into this industry was a lot different than what's probably the story for a lot of you. Some of you not. I know I'm looking at one of the new mastermind members who came in from real estate, but most of the time our path into being a gutter company is I was an installer, I was in operations somehow, right? And guy I work for, I broke off, I buy a truck. I mean, we see it on Facebook all the time. Hey, I have a new business. I just bought a machine. Can anybody tell me what I should charge? Anybody know how to get leads? Which I find fascinating that someone would invest $10,000 or more, say I have a business, but not know pricing or not know. And so that background in sales and that background in sales process has given me the opportunity to create a business that might look a little different than yours. My company's called Gutter Genius. I'm in Pittsburgh. And the way we operate, if you haven't had a chance to let me wax poetic about what we do, we don't run any in-home appointments. Everything we do is sold over the phone. And we have some pretty impressive metrics considering that we do that. So my background in sales has allowed me to get in gutters and get kind of carve out a niche little business. But I can't love the gutter industry anymore. But the sales is what I want to talk about today. And when we talk to people on the Facebook pages and the mastermind group, our weakness in sales isn't our ability to go out and measure and determine the price, but it's really some weaknesses in our sales process and our inability to understand how folks make emotional decisions. Because we love to go out and, there's an old sales phrase where, show up and throw up. We get up and we data dump all this knowledge and all these opinions on the homeowner without ever really asking what their pain point is and what's important to them. And in that era of asking questions, we talk about closing a lot. And so today's focus is really about embracing no. Ricky, when you go out and sell, when somebody tells you no, are you happy? Show of hands. Anybody like to get a no? Right? Well, you already know the answer to this question. I love a no. And so what I'm going to propose to you guys today is that for a lot of you, the success of your sales call is whether it ends in a yes or a no. But I would offer that I love a no. Because first of all, as a salesperson, I'm naturally lazy. The last thing I want to do is, I don't want a follow-up call, right? I don't want to, when I get a maybe, right? Because it's either a yes or no, which is a decision, or a maybe, or indecision, right? I have to, all the BS excuses that we get as salespeople at homes, right? I have to talk to somebody, I have to think about it, I have to get 3 quotes, I have to pray to my higher deity, I got to ask my financial advisor, right? All the excuses why they can't say yes. But now, because I didn't get a decision, I'm forced to email them and have it be ignored, call them and have it pushed to voicemail, finally text them and get a vague response, right? But it's a lot of work on my end, and I don't want to do that. And what I would propose is that you start to embrace the no. And what I mean by that is when you're out selling, there's some times, you've tried to get yes a few times for those of you that actually ask for the business or ask for a decision, because some of you don't. Some of you think you asked for the business, but you're like, okay, so that's the deal, waiting for them to just magically say yes, right? So as I'm asking for yeses and I'm not able to get the yes, I make a conscious decision at some point in my process to start asking them for a no. Because they're expecting you to say, make a decision, help get you into making that yes decision. Okay, fine, you won't give me a yes, you're pushing back on me. I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to start asking for a no. So folks, it sounds like you have whatever the BS excuses, right? Because I don't have a no, I don't have a yes, I did get a maybe. And I do this a lot. So when I see folks like you and they want to take time to think about it, truth is, I don't hear back from them very often. And in most cases, they're just afraid that they might hurt my feelings, right? Or they just don't feel comfortable saying no to me. And I want to let you folks know that if the answer is no, I'm fully comfortable. Wouldn't you say that answer really is no? I dare them to say no, because it's not what they're expecting, right? They're expecting you to try to talk them into doing it, because that's what they're used to, right? The salesman comes out, all these catchphrases, all these cute little word plays to try to get somebody to say yes. Okay, I want you to say no. Well, sometimes you might get a no, and great. I love getting a no. I walk out of a no, I feel great. I got a decision. I don't have to call them back. I don't have to ever think about them again. That opportunity is over. But sometimes when you ask for the no, you're almost, because you're daring them. Well, I'm not saying it's no. Oh, then what's holding you back from moving forward? That objection that you haven't uncovered yet, because if you had uncovered the objection, you would have been able to deal with it if you have the ability to deal with it, right? You would have overcome that objection, and you got the yes. Maybe that no is going to help motivate, dare, kind of the Jedi mind trick, really, into getting what the real objection is. And once the real objection is out there, then you can overcome it. And I know this is not going to be 45 minutes by any means, but we don't ask enough questions. We don't get enough commitments from our homeowners. But would you say that the results of who does sales? Who's primarily running the sales calls? What percentage, who converts at less than 50%? Okay. There's some of you who are honest. Some of you don't convert over 50% and didn't want to raise your hand. I fully accept that. We know that's the case, right? But because if you live in that world, if no is a bad thing for you, and you get that answer or a non-answer a majority of the time, like that emotional roller coaster based on the results of our sales calls, they get really hard. Like, salespeople, anybody worked in other fields where you have a big sales team? There are people that live and die emotionally up and down by the results of their sales, right? So if I will enable myself to push them to get more no's, I am happy with a no. I'm stoked, right? I got a decision. I did my job. And if I can get a yes or a no in a majority of my appointments, now I can ride a high a lot longer. Right? I'm no longer emotionally tied to that negative result, which happens a majority of the time. So what I would once again suggest is embrace that no. The no is a good thing. And for all of us, we're programmed that no is bad. You can use that no as another way to take a run at that customer, uncover what your objection is, and actually get a real answer from them. And that's an answer that you can deal with, that you can overcome that objection. Or maybe the answer is really no. And if it is, what's the worst that happens? So maybe they're not your customer. You're not going to win them all. But how refreshing. Who runs 30 appointments a month? How do you feel? Oh, Jesus. How do you feel when you get out of an appointment, though? Like, what is your mental state in most cases?
In most cases.
So what's your closing? What's your conversion look like now?
It's about 45%.
Okay. So a majority of the time, you come home without money. How does that make you feel?
Sometimes it's rough.
When you don't sell, what objection do you get most often? Okay. Thought it'd be cheaper. Okay. So let's take one of those and deal with it. So we all agree that we're all so high priced that we're higher than our customer. Tell me how that happens in the house. So just give me a scenario. We're gonna role play it because y'all love to role play so much. I mean, and to be fair, if there's anything I could get as salespeople for you to do is role play more. Y'all practice. I'm not from the South. I don't know why I just say y'all. You all practice in front of your customers. Like you're paying to practice. You paid for that lead. We role play when we do trainings in the mastermind group. It's crazy. Like guys are afraid to role play their objections. The same 6 stupid objections they get all the time, and one of them is really just maybe. You could just push all the BS objections into one. It's a not yes or no. It's an indecision. But we go to practice those things. We're afraid to practice, and to me that doesn't make that doesn't make any sense. So let's come back to so you're going out and it's too high of a price, okay? So tell me, just give me a scenario that you had recently that was in that. Statistics are hilarious sometimes, but I would say 50% of sales calls don't actually ever ask the homeowner to buy because you get intimidated, you're afraid. Because you're afraid the answer might be no. I mean, who goes with their buddy to the bar and he looks at you go to the bar with your friends and you find somebody that they find appealing across the bar and stare at them all night and talk about how awesome that person is and never go over and ask for a number. Never go over. And it's because they're afraid the answer might be no. Who cares? Sounds like an epiphany just happened right there. You can't care what the answer is. You can't care what the result is. You can't care, which is why no is such a weakness in us. Our fear of no is crippling. You don't ask the extra questions. You don't ask them to. Your whole goal of the time you gas to their house, you paid for the lead, you go over there. Never actually, if you took a 10-year-old right now and said, kind of explained what salespeople do and asked them what, you'd have to ask them to do it. Like, they would come up with that answer. But yet we go out there and we don't do it. And it happens all the time. And, am I right? So give me role play it out for me here. Give me the exact. Because if you want me to role play you not asking for it, that's probably a different. You did what percentage of the talking in that appointment? Okay. So who else is in that situation? Who else data dumps? Who else shows up and throws up as a process? You and I have been on that phone call too. Is a sales process, because I really didn't have a long thing here. There's a couple things do you have an official process? This is just you running your leads and, okay. I will get something out after this, but here's a basic outline of the thing you need to accomplish before they ask. And this is something that'll be helpful for a lot of you folks that don't have a specific sales process in place. I'm going to get it down to 3 steps, right? One is the commitment step. Like, everybody warms up, you know. We had a conversation about warm-ups the other night. I personally don't do warm-ups. I think they're disingenuous across the board. Like, hi, Mr. Jones, I see you fish. I'm a fisherman too. You know, like, I think that's disingenuous. I almost take an anti-warm-up where I, like, take a jab at them. If I see they went to the one college in the area, I ask them, oh, you didn't get into the other college? You know, like, and they're like, this fucking guy right here, right? You know, like, but I'm also not kissing their ass, right? Because we all bro to sell. A lot of us are there our sales technique is to go and be so friendly and so likable that we hope they buy from us. The irony to all that is that when your prospect really likes you, they feel much more comfortable not giving you an answer because you guys are like bros. We just got to like each other. So you're asking though to come up with, like, when there's too much money, how to overcome that objection. Okay, there's a number of ways to handle that. So you laid some price. Oh, wait, sorry. Let me get back. Here's your 3 steps. There's the commitment step, and that is the thing that I promise you're not doing. Who gathers commitments and tie downs before they lay price? Does anybody have that as a part of the product? Well, I know you do, because instead of going out to the house and data dumping them, right, you need some commitments. First of all, you have to need to know why you're there. So what's a good first question? Why am I here? What's going on with your gutters? Yeah. So how does that make you feel, right? Buying isn't rational, it's emotional. So I need to know why I'm out here, and it's probably because you're pissed off at something about your gutters, right? So let's talk about that. So you got some leaks, you got some stuff, so you got some problems, right? So I'm going to do a few things here today. I'm going to tell you about my company. I'm going to tell you about the process. I'm going to tell you about my materials. I'm going to tell you about my warranty. I'm going to tell you about the solution. I'm going to tell you about gutter protection, right? And as I go through that thing, because we all do that, right? Everyone's got a company story. Everyone's got, here's the material we use. Here's why our gutter guard's the best thing in the world. Here's why I have the best installers ever. We're the best people in our market, right? We all have those points. How many of you stop at the end of telling them about your company and say, so after I've told you about my company and how we operate, are we somebody you'd feel comfortable doing business with? We are? I appreciate you saying that. Hey, now that I've showed you my materials, would this material take care of that problem that you have? Now that we're talking about our installers, the fact that they're insured and they're W-2'd and, you know, we have training and the way we operate, would you feel comfortable having my crews install gutters on your home? Do you think this gutter protection that I showed you, do you think that would give you protection? Do you think that would take care of your needs? Do you think this warranty would protect you over the time that you're going to live in this house? You do? You feel this way? Like you agree to all that? Awesome. And they're not even like big deals, right? You're just telling them stuff and go, is that something you'd want in your home? It is? Cool. You just put that in your hip pocket, right? Because now you're going and asking for them to pay. Somebody else gave them a price for less. Okay, not a problem. So it seems like we're a couple dollars higher than that person. If you don't mind me asking, why didn't you hire them when they were out here? You were already out there. They gave you a price. Why didn't you hire them? There's probably a reason, right? Okay, so I'm familiar with that company. I know earlier you told me that you liked the fact that we were insured. You liked the fact that we train our people. You like whatever it is that your company specializes in. Would it surprise you to know that that company unfortunately doesn't do it that way? You know, at that point, do you see why? You take all those examples, right? So it's hard to make up but when you get them to commit to all of the things that you offer and you agree and it's what they like and what they want, when they don't get it over here, can you understand why they might be a little cheaper? Can you understand why we might be a little more expensive? And sometimes, you know, like, oh, it's more than I thought it would be. Sure, right? Because that's the other side of that too much money coin, right? No problem. If you don't mind me asking, what did you think this project would cost? Oh, we're at 3,000, and you thought it'd be 2,000. Where'd that number come from? Did you get another price? Or in a lot of cases, like we are so quick to be like, oh, let me drop price. Hey, you thought it'd be $2,000. Where'd that number come from? In a lot of cases, I was just hoping it was $2,000. I thought it would be $2,000. Like my dad got gutters 14 years ago and it was $2,000, right? The number doesn't actually mean anything. We deal with that as an objection, like it's not even a real objection. Oh, okay, so that number didn't come from anywhere else, okay? Or I thought it'd be, when you thought it would be $2,000, were you taking into account of getting gutter guard? Do you think about getting a lifetime warranty? Do you thinking about having somebody that's insured? Do you think that now that you understand how we do business, can you see why this project costs more than what you were expecting, right? And so we're not going to fix everybody's sales processes here. We're not going to. But if you're not attacking your sales like this, there's resources out there on the internet. There's people you can pay. There's organizations. You can call me, right? There's places that you can develop these skills, because if you don't have these skills, you aren't selling. You're hoping. You're hoping that I bro down enough with somebody and my price is not offensive enough that they might take advantage of this offer. Right? And so anybody that's not closing, and look, we can get into conversations about closing rates and conversions and all that stuff, and none of that, there's no real rules for that, because your price, your sales ability, your offerings, your market, all take a play into that. I would tell you that if you're 40 or 30%, you could do some things to be higher. If you're under 50% in gutters, you can make some steps to be higher. If you're closing at 100% or 90, look, we've all been on a Facebook. I sell at 92%. Yeah, at $5 a foot, there's no barrier to somebody buying. There's no financial barrier for something. That price makes sense to everybody, right? So of course you should be at 92%. So, because I knew the question was going to be somewhere in there, what's a good closing percentage? Rob, what do you think is a healthy closing percentage? What is your goal? And I think we talked about it. 35%. But your price point is at? It's fucking stupid, right? I worked as a sales manager for Renewal by Anderson. We were looking for 35 or 40% for $3,000 double hung windows, because I would much rather sell 1/3 of our leads at $3,000 a window than give a bunch of, and a lot of you could be in that situation. That's another tangent to go off of. But to circle back, if you're not asking, you got to ask. If you're asking them to say yes 1 or 2 times and you're leaving with a maybe a majority of the time, embrace no. Because you're not doing a good job at getting yes. Nobody wants to go home with a maybe. I don't want to go home with a maybe. I don't want to go home and I don't want to call these people. Like, I am lazy. I do not want to make follow-up calls to people. Like, they're the dumbest things ever. Like, you're talking about a couple $1,000 purchase. They called you and invited you out there. Make up your goddamn mind. We're either for you or not. And would you have asked that person ever why they didn't buy when the other person was there? Would you ask that question now? But they'll do it real time for free. Because it takes us out of our comfort zone, and we might seem wrong or stupid, but I've been selling for a couple decades. I'm still stupid with it, and I still learn all the time. Like, somebody give me some feedback. Is anybody taking anything? Does this make sense to anybody? Is this new to anybody? Yeah. Our processes should be, I do very little talking in a call. I am asking a series of questions, getting myself commitments, gathering information. I'm tying them down so I can F them later. Like, I'm going to paint them right into a corner, right? Because they're going to agree to all this stuff. And I asked the question so nonchalantly. Oh, yeah, I agree to that. Sure, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I would love to have you come down here. I think you guys would do a great job. Man, I appreciate your confidence. But later on when they don't buy, I'm going to hold them accountable to it, right? Because you've already told me all these things. You've told me that you like everything that we do. And help me understand, because I'm just a stupid sales rep and I don't know anything. But when I talk to folks like you and they like the company, they like the, they like the material, they like the way we do business, they like our warranty, they like our solutions. Those people place an order with me. Help me understand why you're not placing an order with me today. And we don't ask those pointed questions because the answer might be no. Because we're circle back again, afraid of no. I saw a hand. No matter how you go through that, it sounds like a BS response, right? My technique for handling that is I start asking so many technical questions. It lets them know that because their homeowners think that it's, yeah. So what profile were you looking for? Do you know what size gutter you were looking for? What kind of finish were you looking for? How would you like those to be hung? What kind of, just ask them questions they don't have the answer to. And maybe it's a guy who knows. And then, at some point, if he really wants the price, you just have to decide whether you're going to do it or not. I never give that price over the phone. No problem. You need a price? I'd be happy to get you a proposal today. Let me ask you a few questions. Or just ignore it, right? There's a couple of different ways you can handle that. Because they're not educated yet, right? They don't know that there's... I assume everyone here gets on the Facebook pages, right? We're all on all the Facebook pages, right? Once a week, somebody is frustrated because that guy is so cheap and he's ruining the market because he gives his stuff away. Okay, anybody not seen that post, right? We've all seen it, right? I would argue that that guy is not ruining the industry. That guy is not ruining his market. Here's what happened. The homeowner, your prospect, looked at the options and didn't see any difference in between them. It wasn't that there's cheap guys in my market too. I got $7 foot guys in Pittsburgh. We're selling it, $20 to $40 a foot with gutter guard, right? It's not, it happens, right? There's tons of cheap guys. You got $7 foot guys in your market too, right? Somehow you're not out of business. Here's the difference, right? When you come out and you run a lead and he goes with that cheap guy, it isn't because that person, it wasn't because of the money. I mean, it is because of the money, but that prospect looked at the options in front of them and saw them as exactly the same. And then they did what any consumer would do. If I have options in front of me and they're essentially the same, I pick the cheapest one every single time. Our weakness is that we don't differentiate ourselves from our competition. We don't build the value. We don't take the time to educate them. We go out and do what a lot of us naturally think what sales is. I go out, I'm going to show them how smart I am. I'm going to tell them what they need. Then I'm going to tell them what the price is. And by the way, just so you know, my company, we're the best. We have the best installers in the city. Bunch of things that don't mean anything, right? Because you're not quantifying why you're the best. You're not quantifying that. Look at our reviews. Right? I talk about our reviews all the time. I talk about the fact that we're veteran owned. I talk about the fact that we don't subcontract our work out, that our employees have benefits. Like we're a feel-good company to hire in our market, right? And I'm giving them value with warranties and knowledge and videos, and if they see us, so I'm trying to differentiate ourselves. Tyler, tell me how that works in your market, right? Because you do a great job of building value. So you're not losing the job because the guy's so cheap. You just didn't seem like a better option because we're all consumers, right? Does everybody always buy the cheapest thing? I mean, if you're a salesperson, you probably buy the most expensive stuff all the time. Like, I go out and buy a TV, and I'm like, I'm going to go buy this cheap TV. And the guy starts showing me how good the blacks are on the Sony, and there's an extra plug in the back. Oh, shit, I got to have that, right? Because he created value for me. It's worth more to buy that nicer thing, right? We have to learn to do that with our... And I mean, it's simple for me to say, like, hey, you got to learn to build some value. But there's techniques to do that. No matter where you seek it out. And the internet, the market is full of people that can help you do that. If you're doing the sales for your company and you're not craving continuing education, you don't crave practice, you're not improving your craft, then why would you expect to be any better? Michael Jordan didn't become, not LeBron, Michael Jordan didn't become the GOAT by not practicing, right? You gotta practice, you gotta become better. So when it comes to value, how do you differentiate yourself? Because you're with a new employer, right? So how is that process for you? How do you differentiate your company? Because I know you do a good job of it. But you're also talking the technical stuff. You do bro down, but that's a technique. It's not. But what makes you different than the cheap guy down the street? You love role playing. Anybody else have some good success in differentiating their businesses? I know someone over there who does. He just got an award. No, but you're getting more in your market than other people get. You don't get that just by dropping a higher price. You're building value that you're making your prospects see that it's worth spending the extra money with you. How do you do that? How many Google reviews do you have? It builds authority. Who has over 100 5-star? Who has over 100 reviews? Are you talking about those? I lean into them all the time. I pull them up and have people read them. Keep some of the good ones. If you have great reviews, I would leverage all those things. But it all just comes back to no. And it all comes back to us being afraid to know. We're not asking. We're not. Yeah, Rick? I would say that is a very common technique, right? When we think that their expectation is lower than the price, we, as fast as we can, figure out how to drop the price down to their expectation. I would also suggest that there's some techniques that you can raise their expectation to your price, right? Because the price they're at, is that somebody else's price? No, but I'm saying, like, when you're getting to that other price, it was because that's what they thought the price would be, or because that's what the other competitive quote was? What do they get for that 500? You just take 500 off? Hey, Rick, if you don't mind me asking, if you could have sold this for $500 less, why didn't you offer that to me at the beginning? Sure, but you just took $500 off the price of my gutters. Why didn't you start there? The point I was going to make there is something else, because we all drop price, right? We love to just throw out a price, but what's that? There's always a question, one, and what are you trading for that $500? I tell you what I can do. All these interactions getting out to you, the advertising costs a lot of money. And a lot of people rely on our reviews. How about we come out, we install these windows and do a good job, or windows. It's so bad. We install these gutters, we do a great job for you, right? If we're done and you're happy, can I count on you for a 5-star review on Google and a post on Facebook with a picture, before and after picture I'll provide? If you can do that, I can divert some of my marketing funds and take a little off your job if you're ready to move forward tonight. It's a trade, right? So every time I would say that if you are giving money away, it should be there's an exchange that should happen. If you give money away for no reason, then why didn't you just give me that? As a consumer, why didn't you just give me that price in the first place? Right? You were trying to make more money off me? Like, that's not, but now I'll let you buy that discount. I will pay you for that review. I will pay you for that sign. I will pay. And yeah, is it cheesy? A little bit. I like the reviews because we used to do it when I started selling windows in college, but we would trade that discount for a sign in the yard, and today's sign is a Facebook post or it's a Google review. So by no means 45 minutes today was going to fix anybody's sales processes, but I just wanted to have a conversation about no.
Now, when you give in that exchange,
Yep.
are you
Writing in the contract? Yes.
okay? I'll say that, or are you more adamant about it?
No, I'm just saying if you're going to drop price.
Right. If you're dropping price, you want to make sure that they're going to actually really do it. 'Cause you may think
Well, not only that, offset it with value. It's a value for value trade. It's not just a magical, my number went down, Getting what? Well, if they want the $500 off, they have to commit to that because that's the price of doing business for the review. If they want the discount, what am I going to do? Sue them over review? I'm going to remind them about it, but it harass the shit out of them. But to be fair, if we're making that deal, well, he was just going to take it off for anyway, right? But if I'm giving them $500 off and we have an agreement, I'm putting that in the contract, right? Why wouldn't you? That's part of all that contract is what they're going to expect from us. Some of that contract could be what I expect of you, the consumer, too. I mean, look, 12 hours, we could just sit and beat these things up. But if I was to wrap today up, the whole point of this is that no cripples most of you. It cripples you in your sales. It cripples you meeting a girl at the bar. It cripples you in a lot of our interactions. We are programmed as humans to be afraid of no. And if you can get a little more comfortable with no, embrace your no, use the no to circumvent the yes, it can be a powerful tool. I run a lot of leads on Windows, and I would get 2 non-answers or I can't get a yes. I go hard for a no. I would say that more often than not, we're coming to some sort of decision. And it's liberating to not have to call. I mean, who has a huge list of people that they follow up with? What if you could just get a yes or no from 90% of your leads? You don't have to follow up with people anymore. Like, what would you do with the time? You could start a hobby. You could build something, right? Like, we spend a lot of time following up. And the truth is that most of those maybes are no's, right? Or it's a yes that you haven't uncovered. But either way, if you don't take the time and the investment to find that out, you're leaving a lot of deals on the table. So I leave you with no is not a bad thing. I leave the house with a no. My head's held high. I'm stoked. I did my job. I got that prospect to make a decision. And if you approach that the same way, I promise you're going to find a little bit more success because you're going to dig a little bit more and you're going to open yourself up to getting a little more yeses. Yeah, go ahead. No, if they're coming back after my offer, we're going to figure that out. I want to make business. I don't want to say no. Oh, sure. No, I mean, we're talking about situations. Yeah, there's always outliers of stuff that, yeah, I'd do it for $5. Oh, I would do it for $5 too. But, that's not a realistic situation, Mr. and Mr. Homeowner, or somebody lowballs you. Yeah, I mean, if I could do it, I'd do it for that every time. But unfortunately, that's more than what it cost me to do it. So let me tell you what you got there, what breakout. They gave you a place that they would say yes. You have a deal. It's somewhere between your number and their number is a deal. How you get there, what you're willing to take, that's all your individual business. You should figure all that out, right? But if you can get them to commit to something they would do, that's a great place to be. I would take that every single time. Anyway, I'm going to thank you for your time. We've run over. And we're at the end here. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, I don't do that. But hey, thank you guys for your time. Appreciate it.